So guys, welcome to this 1 hour JavaScript session. So in this 1 hour JavaScript, we are going to see we will start from JavaScript, declaring the variables, array implementations, and then REST API integration, function declaration, hoops concept, all these things we are going to see. And if you have any doubts or any clarification, just write in the comments. We will reply you whenever we want. And one more thing, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. Okay, go for next one. Okay, why we need a JavaScript? As we all know, in order to create interactive web applications, we need a JavaScript, and it is easier to learn most programming languages. So, for example, comparing to other programming languages, it is very easy to learn. As it is in a front-end language, it does not have any complicated things or anything. So, if you have any before programming experience, it will not take that much time to learn. In case if you are a beginner, initially you may need to struggle, but it is not that much complicated as Java or Python or comparing to other programming languages. Okay, so as I mentioned, it helps us to create interactive web pages, and it also be fun. Actually, it is not like that much complicated. It will be fun in while learning. And most of the people thinking like JavaScript is like a part of Java. No, JavaScript is different, Java is different, and moreover JavaScript is like open source language. Java is owned by Oracle, so there is no connection between the Java and JavaScript. Because during the 1995, I think so, because Java is very popular, because of this thing they came the name for JavaScript, but there is no connection for JavaScript as well as Java. Okay, and now we will see the difference between Java and JavaScript. JavaScript is the programming language which can be interpreted by the browser. Java is a program or compiled and can be run on as a standalone application. Okay, Java is specifically for to compile and can be run as a standalone application. JavaScript are programs that can be interpreted by the browser. Okay, there is no connection between there is no similarity between the JavaScript and Java. Even the coding also that we are going to perform is not at all similar between Java and JavaScript. Okay, so what all the we know, like whenever we want to type the code, we need a code editor. So here we have we are going to use VS Code. In case if you are comfortable with Sublime or Notepad or Notepad++, that is also fine. You can use it. Okay, but in our tutorial, in this series, we are going to use VS Code only. Okay, fine. So now we are going to see how we can able to include the JavaScript. Okay. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, JavaScript can be used for creating the interactive web pages. Okay, so web pages means, as we know, it should be in a HTML page. So JavaScript can be included in the HTML page only. Okay, so now as you can see here, in order to include the JavaScript into our HTML, we should add the tag called script opening tag and closing tag. So between the tag only we need to mention our JavaScript code. Okay, so let's see how to create this one. So I'm opening a browser here, and this is the simple. Okay, so this is a VS Code, as you can see here, and in this VS Code I'm just creating one file called hello world actually. Okay, so this is generally people will use this one, right? Hello world.html. Okay, so in this HTML I'm just okay, this is like a basic code for HTML page. Maybe I will remove this one. Okay, so this is the basic syntax for the HTML. So each HTML tag will have opening tag and closing tag. And if you want to include the JavaScript, that can be included anywhere in the page, but the basic standard is always we should add this JavaScript inside the head tag. Okay, so here in the head tag I can use the script opening tag and closing tag. So this is where we need to add the JavaScript. Okay, add the JavaScript. So we cannot add without script tag in the HTML. So whenever we want to add the JavaScript, it is must that we should use the script actually. Okay, fine. So this is how we have to use this JavaScript. Okay, how we can know that JavaScript can be included in the HTML file. Okay, so if you know any other programming languages like Java, C or C++, we used to use the keyword called printf or system.out.println. And in Python we used to have print, right? The same way in JavaScript also we have the one function called console.log. Okay, so what this will do, it just prints the data in the browser console. Okay, this is not good for real-time purpose. This is only for the learning purpose. Okay, so I'm just mentioning like a hello world. Okay, so I'm just mentioning this one, and how we can able to see the output. Okay, as we all know, whenever we want to execute HTML, it is must that we should open the browser, right? The same way here also I am going to open a browser, and this browser, it's like I'm using opening a new tab, and I am storing this file in a particular location, which means it is in the okay, I will open in the Ribbon Finder. Okay, so which means, yeah, so in this location only my JavaScript file which I am using now is stored here. Okay, so here what I can do, I can just drag and drop to the browser and I can open the JavaScript HTML file. Otherwise, there is a one more way of opening the HTML file. Just give Control O. Generally, we used to give the Control O in the editor, right? The same way I'm just giving Control O and go to the folder where we are storing our file. Okay, so I don't know where I have used. 1 second. Yeah, I think here mostly. Projects YouTube. Okay, again I'm giving Control O and go to projects and I need to select the YouTube. Yeah, and then I need to select the HTML. Where is HTML? Yeah, HTML, and then I need to select the JS2 hours. Okay, in this folder only I have selected. Again, go back. Sorry, click on that folder and select the file that you want to open. So this one. So this is like a normally how we can able to open the file in normal editor, right? The same way. So again, you can use drag and drop, or you can Control O in the browser and you can select the file. Okay. So now again go back to the code. 1 second. Again go back to the code here. Okay. So here I am just using a console.log which prints the hello world in console. So how to open the console in browser? Okay. In order to see this output in the browser, just right click on the browser. We have the inspect actually. Okay. Right click on the inspect, or you can press the F12. So here you may have the console here, that tab called console. This will be available in all the browser. If you are using Edge, Firefox, or Chrome, I am using a Chrome here. So but this console will be available in all the browsers. Right click and you have the option called inspect. This option will be available in all the browsers. Maybe some of the browsers will may have the developer tool. Okay, so the mainly it's called as a developer tools, but if you want to open the developer tool, we have to go with the inspect. Okay, by clicking the inspect. Otherwise, okay, we will have one more option also. Click on this hamburger menu and we will have more tools, and we have the developer tool, right? Okay, so by clicking on the developer tool, it will, okay, if it is open, it will be hidden. Okay, again I'm clicking this one. As you can see here, it will be open here. Okay, so here there is a tab called console. There's a lot of tabs will be there that we will see one by one when needs to be used, but as of now we are going to use the console. Okay, by clicking the console, as you can see here, hello world will be there. Okay, what this hello world will do, so whatever we are printing in the console, right, that will be printed in the console actually. Okay, so maybe I will do one more thing. In the console.log, I am adding one more statement. Okay, I can say like sample output, okay, from JavaScript. Save it and this one, go back, and as you can see here, I am getting the output called sample output, this one. Okay, so what this will do, we just added a console here, and that console is getting printed in the browser console. Okay, so this is how we have to execute our JavaScript. Okay, fine. Now, okay, so again we will see other thing. Okay, now we know how to add the JavaScript into HTML, and we saw about the console.log, which just prints the data in the console, right? So now we will go for the real-time programming. Okay, so next one is about the hello world. I think this is like what this will do, document.write. Okay, what this document.write will do, this will write the content into the HTML. Console.log means it just prints only in the console, but document.write means it just writes into the HTML document. Okay, so let's see how we can able to do it. So now again go back to the same file. So that console.log is there now. In the same file, I am going to add one line called document.write. Okay, so here I will mention like hello world. Okay, so what this line will do, this will write this line into the HTML document. Right into the HTML document. But mostly people will not prefer to use this function, because what this will do, this will replace the existing content and it writes this one. So this is just only for the learning purposes, but this we will not use it in the real-time programming. Okay, fine. Again, now I will just go to the web page which we are executing here. Now let me refresh it. As you can see here, I can see the hello world. This output is coming from the JavaScript. Maybe I will add one more tag called h1. As we all know, this h1 is like a heading tag in HTML. So this will make the font little bigger, and as you can see here, the hello world. Okay, so what this will do, it just prints that prints from JavaScript code because of the document.write. Okay, so let me comment this line and refresh it. As you can, okay, refresh it. Now this page does not have anything because we didn't write anything in the HTML, as well as we don't have anything in the JavaScript also. So now this page becomes empty here. Okay, so now let me uncomment this one and let me refresh the page. Okay, as you can see here, I'm having the hello world, which prints perfectly fine because of the JavaScript. And again, this output is coming from the JavaScript execution, not from the HTML. Okay, I will show you next topic. Okay, so which one is? One second. Okay, so this already we know like how to include the JavaScript. We'll go for the one thing. This document write also we saw. And okay, so this is kind of just example of how it is working. So document.write. So document is nothing but the entire HTML document. So write means we are going to write something in the document. So what are we going to write is like we need to put inside the double quotes. So this double quotes is representation of just we are providing some content, and that content is going to write in the HTML. And whenever we are writing a code, it is must that we should use a semicolon. Okay, semicolon is to indicate that this is the end of the line. Without semicolon, it is it's not like Python. We should always give the semicolon at end of the line in JavaScript actually. Okay, so fine. Comments in JavaScript. So comments means this code will not be executed. So like other programming languages, we have a multi-line and single line. For single line, we can just use this one. For multi-line, we can use this one. Okay. If you are using a VS Code editor, we can just select this one and give control / automatically it just add a comment here. Again, if you do this one, it will uncomment it. Okay. If you are using a VS Code, you have the shortcut control /. In case if you are using a Notepad or Notepad plus, we need to use this one manually like this. Okay. I think if you are using Notepad plus also, this control / will work. But when it comes to normal Notepad, we need to do manually. But if you are using a VS Code editor, just control / it does this one. I think most of the editor will do the same thing. Just control / it will comment the code in the JavaScript. Right. So now we will go for the next one. Okay. So now the next one is about the printing the console in JavaScript. This I shown you already how to print the value in the console using the JavaScript code. So console.log will do the thing. So which means it just prints the code in the console actually. Okay. So I don't want to show this one actually. You already know just now before we saw this one. Okay. So again single line, multi line. Okay. Now we will go for the JavaScript variables. Okay. Still now we just saw how to include the JavaScript into the HTML and how we can write something into the HTML using the console, using JavaScript, using the console as well as using the document.write. So now we are going to declare the variable. So variables is nothing but to store the value to use it in further implementations or further usage. For example, let me save the file. Now I am going to open the one more file. I don't want to disturb this one. And whatever the code that you are using here, right, that will be available in my repository. That repository is in my description is there. So if you want to use this code directly, it is always available. You can use it whenever you want. Okay. So now again, I am creating one more file called variable.html. It is already there. It is like a simple HTML file. It does not have any content here. Okay. So now the same way how we include the script, right? I am including the script here. Okay. So now in JavaScript, we have to declare the variable because the variable means we can use the variable for further usage. So here I can mention like where. So where is the keyword to declare the variable. So it has to be like this one. We should not use capital V or we should not use so JavaScript is case sensitive. So whatever the keyword that we are using, we have to use as it is. Okay. So where and space first name equal to this one. So here I can mention like whatever the value that you want, you can mention it here. So here I will mention like Shiva. Okay, so this is the name that I'm providing here, which is called variable, then variable name and equal to is assigning operator, then this is the value. Okay, this is called a variable declaration. Variable declaration. Okay, this is what I am providing here. Okay, so now how we have to access this variable. So now here I will use this console.log. As we know, console.log is just printing in the console. So here I need to use this first name. Okay, which means what we are doing is like printing the variable name. Maybe I will add the comment here. Printing the name. That's it. Okay. So now in order to execute this variable in the browser, just we have to drag and drop. Otherwise, you have to open an appropriate folder. So whatever is comfortable for you, that you can use it. Okay. Now execute it, and in order to see the output, we have to open the inspect. Right click inspect, and we can see the console in the browser. Yeah. So can you see this one? Show then variable name which is called Shiva is showing here. So now we can see the appropriate output here. That's it. Okay. This is how we have to just use the variable in order to print the output in the HTML document. Okay. The same way we can create as many as variables we want. So for example, I'm creating one more variable called last name. I can mention like Kumar. Okay, I'm mentioning this one. And if I want to use this variable, if I want to print the variable, I can mention like console.log and I can do this one last name. Okay, so this will also get printed in the console like this. Okay, now this is printing here, and if you see the console here, right, in the console it tells you like from where it is getting printed. Can you see here? So if you see here, this console is showing variable.html. This is a file name, and this line is getting printed from the line number 12. Okay, the same way Kumar, it is getting printed from the line number 13. Okay, so like this we can easily understand from where this is getting printed. It is not like it hides everything. So the advantage of console is we can easily understand from where it is getting printed, which means from line number 12. As you can see here, from line number 12 it is getting printed. The next line is also getting printed from the line number 13. Okay, so this is how we can just see this code. In case if you want to see the code in the browser, it is also possible. By clicking this file, it just navigates to the appropriate page also. Once again, let me, I think, click this one. As you can see here, it navigates to the appropriate file, and it just showing the HTML code in the browser itself. This is not the VS Code. This is a HTML browser, and it's showing the entire HTML page. So from the console, I'm just navigating to the sources. This we will see later point of time, but now we will go back to the console here. So if you want to navigate to the appropriate line, by clicking this one, it just takes you to the appropriate file with the appropriate line as well. And moreover, if you want to know from where it is getting printed, just by looking at the line number, we can easily understand. So as you can see here, this is a file name and this is a line number. Okay, that's it. This is how we can just prints the variable in our JavaScript. Okay, so now we will see the operator. So operator is nothing but adding, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So here I am just using a num1. Variable name can be anything, and for the number we don't need the string actually, which means the quotes. So the quotes has to be used only for the string variable. When it comes to numbers, floats, we don't need the quotes here. And num2 equal to, I can provide something. So what this will do, it just has this two variables here. Okay, so now just console.log, I can use this num1 plus num2, which performs the addition here. Okay, again, in order to see the console.log, go to the browser and just refresh the one. Can you see here 110? So this 110 is getting printed because of these two numbers. So whenever we are using these numbers, it just prints the value, it just adds the value, and we can see the output. Okay, this is what about the operator. Okay, so now we will go for the, like this we can use subtraction, multiplication and then division. Okay, so you know how to use all the operators, right? Accordingly it just works. So whatever that you want to do any operation, then we can do it. Okay, I'm just keeping this one. Okay, as the time consuming thing, I'm just going for the next one. I don't want to show this subtraction, multiplication and all these things. Okay, okay, now go for the next one. Okay, so now in JavaScript we have other two keywords also there, let and const. Okay, these are all the keywords that we can use it for variable declaration. Yes, so now I am using a keyword called var, right? The same way I can use let also. Once again, yeah, let email equal to sample email at gmail.com. Okay, like this also we can use it. So here I can mention like console.log email. So what this will do, it just prints the email in the console. That's it. This is also like this let is also one more keyword to declare the variable. If I refresh it, as you can see here, I can able to get the same output without any issues. Okay, now you may have a doubt like why it's like what is the difference between let and var, that we will see later tutorials. Okay, there's a one more keyword called, next keyword called const actually. Only three keywords, not more than that. Don't get confused actually. So var, let, const. Okay, so const is a keyword for abbreviation for constant. So constant is like a nothing cannot be changed, right? This is the meaning for constant. So when you want to create a constant in the JavaScript, we can use a keyword called const. And here I can use this like what I can do, my planet. Okay, okay, equal to, I will mention like the earth. This is the const I am creating here. Okay, so now I will use the same console.log here as well, and I will use this variable called my planet. Okay, now if it is, as you can see, I am getting the same output. Okay, but now what is the difference between the var, let, const? I am just giving a simple example, but there's a lot of things are there. Okay, so now what I am going to do, const stands for constant. So what is the use of constant is, maybe I will add the comment here. Okay, so constant means the value cannot be changed. Okay, so whatever the value that you are providing, that it's like a one-time assignment that cannot be changed. So value cannot be changed. This is the first point. Next point is cannot be declared, cannot be pre-declared. This is the 2 points when it comes to const. But what about the let? So let means value can be changed. It's not cannot, it's a can be changed, but cannot be redeclared actually. Okay, this is also one thing. And what about the where? So where means everything can be possible. So which means value can be changed, can be declared, these things. Okay, this is what the difference. There's one more difference called block scope variable that we will see in case if we have a time. But now I will show you the example like what is this one. So what is this? I think you know what is this one. Like value can be changed. Value means whatever the value that we are assigned to the variable that can be changed. Okay, so only for the const that we cannot able to change it, but for the let and then for where we can able to change it. For example, I'm using a variable okay, first name equal to, I'm updating as a sample. Okay, so this can be updatable. So now instead of Shiva, I'm just mentioning a sample here, and as you can see here, without any issues, I'm just getting an update. It gets updated. Okay, this is called a value update. Okay, value update. Okay, so what about the redeclaration? Redeclaration means I can use this one like this, first name equal to new value. Okay, it is also possible without any issues, redeclaration, which means by using the keyword I can able to declare the variable. As you can see here, I can able to get the output without any issues. But this redeclaration, maybe I will add it here. This is called redeclaration. Okay, so this one I can go to this email and I will update like email. This is called update. Update will be applicable in without any issues. I can say like sample update at gmail.com. For let, it is working without any issues. Now let me update. As you can see here, it is working fine. But redeclaration, which means if I copy this one and again do this one, as you can see here, immediately it is throwing error. Okay, because redeclaration cannot be possible. Even if I'm giving a different value, it will not be allowed. Okay, this is the difference between the where and the let. And const means we cannot do anything. We cannot do update, we cannot do redeclaration, nothing can be possible actually. Okay, so this is the, okay, now let me comment this one. That's it. This is what the three difference between the three keywords. So where, let, const. Okay, these are all the keywords that we can use it in a JavaScript. Apart from this, we cannot do anything actually. Okay, fine. So now we will go for the next concept, right? So if you have any doubt, just post in the comments. Maybe I will create one more video for your clarifications. Okay, fine. Now let's go for the next one, which is called arrays. JavaScript arrays. Okay, generally arrays is the most important topic in all the programming languages. So same like in JavaScript also. Okay, when it comes to variable, just the variable will hold the value, that's it. Okay, it does not have anything. But when it comes to array, we can store multiple values. Okay, again go back to the file, and here I will create a new file here. I don't want to disturb this one, and I'm creating a array.html. Okay, fine. In this array.html, fine, HTML, fine. Okay, fine. So let me remove all these things. Fine. As we know, we can have the script. Okay, what is arrays? Arrays means it helps us to store the multiple values in the same variable. Like this, we can able to store it. Okay, so if you store multiple values, then how we can able to access it? So as we know, when it comes to array will be used this index position to store the value. As you can see here, this is called index position. It always starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So whatever the value that you are providing, this index position will get increased automatically. So we don't need to worry about the index position. So most of the programming languages will have the array concept like this only. In terms of Java or Python or PHP or whatever it may be, this is the array concept, which is called index array. The same flow will be applicable in JavaScript arrays also. So whenever you are providing the value, we have to use this square bracket to provide the value, and we need to use this either where, let, const, whatever the keyword that you want to use it, we can use it, and this will apply the value. Automatically the index will be added. Okay, first we will do this one and we will go for the next concept. Okay, so which is called, now we are going to see the index array. Okay, generally in terms of array, there is a two concept. One is called index array, another one is called object array. Depends on the programming, this will get changed. For example, in Python, it considered as a dictionary. And one more thing is, I think it's called as a set, I think, so I forgot actually. And when it comes to Java, it is array, and then we have the one more concept called hash map. So like this depends on the programming. In PHP, it is called as a index array, and the next one is called associative array. Okay, but when it comes to JavaScript, it is index array and then object array. Okay, object. Okay, index array always represented by square bracket. Now come here, we can use this where name list. So the name can be anything, but I'm using a name list here. Okay, this is called array declaration. Okay, so now how we have to provide the value? So in order to provide the value, if it is number, we don't need the double quotes. But if you want to use string, then we need to use the double quotes. So here I'm providing a one first name, or maybe we have to mention like Shiva. This we can mention it here. Okay, and I can go for one more thing, which is called Vishnu. Like this, I'm mentioning one more thing, and I can go for what else I can give? Parvati. Like this we can, yeah, okay. Like this we can able to add most of the things in our application actually. Okay, so like this we can add a number of variables. For example, I can add one more thing like India. Okay, so okay, now how we have to access this value, which means this is in the zeroth array, zeroth index. This is from first index, second index, third index. Like this, whenever we are adding the value, automatically it just increased. Okay, okay. Now how we have to access this value? Because declaration means whenever we are declaring the variable, which means indirectly we can able to access this value, right? So to do that, we can provide console.log name list. Sorry, name list. This is the variable name of 0. 0 means what it will do? It takes the first index, okay, which is called 0. So if I refresh this one, okay, it is a new file, so I need to load it in the browser. Can you see this variable called Shiva? This is because we are accessing the 0th index. Maybe I will add the command here for your understanding. Access the 0th index. Okay. Okay. So the same way I can go for console.log and I can give name list of 2. So what this will do? 2. This is called 0, 1. And then this is called 2. 2 will print the Parvati. So now let me refresh it. As you can see, I can get the Parvati here. That's it. Okay, this is how we can able to access the value using the index. So index is always starts from 0 and it will keep on increasing by providing the values. Okay. Now what will happen if you are providing the index which is not in the array? For example, I'm providing index called 10, but the 10 is not available, right? So this time we will get the undefined. Undefined means the values are not available in the array. Refresh it. As you can see here, we are getting the undefined. Undefined means that particular array is not available in the values are not available in the this index is not available in the array, so we are getting this error called undefined. That's it. Okay, if you go for Java, I think we will get an error, array index out of bound exception, if you know Java. But in JavaScript it is not the case. It will not throw any error. It just prints the undefined actually. That's it. It will not do any error. In case if you are doing any functions based on the value, you may get an error, but this just prints the value called undefined. That's it. Apart from this, it will not do anything. Fine. So this is called index array. Okay. So okay, now we will see how to iterate this array. Again, go back to this PPT. Okay, now we know how to access the value one by one based on the position that we know, but I don't know the position, which means dynamically the data is coming from somewhere. Okay, so I want to know what is the last element in the array, and I want to see one by one. So for this thing in JavaScript we have the for loop. What this for loop will do? This will iterate the element from the array, and this has to be used only with the array. And by using this for loop, there's a two types of for loop is there. It is your wish, you can use whatever you want. Either we can go for this type of for loop, or we can go for this type of for loop. Okay, we will see one by one now. So for is the keyword, key is the index actually. Okay, this we can provide whatever we want, and in is the keyword. It has to be like this, and object is nothing but this is the array variable. Okay, I will just copy this one, and I will go to our VS Code and I will paste it here. Okay. And as I mentioned, key is nothing but this can be anything. Maybe I will mention like lift index. Okay, object is nothing but the array variable name. It has to be like this only. Okay, so this is how we can just declare the variable. Now I need to provide the console.log, and I mentioned the index here. Index means we will get 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, like this. So now let me refresh the file. As you can see here, 0, 1, 2, 3 is displaying here because this is giving the index, not the value. So using this index, we can get the value, which means how we can able to get that value means, as we know here, if I put name list of 0, it gives me the Shiva, right? The same way, this index is nothing but 0, 1, 2, 3, it will come here. That's what we can see this one. So now here I am mentioning like name list of index. So what this will do, this will just print the value from each index here. So now let me refresh it. As you can see here, I can see each value from the particular index actually here. Okay, so this is how we can just print the value from the we can get the value from the array. Okay, so if you want to print the index, that is also can be possible like this. So here we are printing index as well as the index value. Can you see here? In the zeroth index we have the Shiva, first index we have Vishnu, second Pikes. Okay, like this we can keep on adding. Okay, we will do one more scenario here. I am adding one more character called USA. Okay, let me refresh it. As you can see here, whenever we are using a for loop, it just run till the last element. Okay, we don't need to worry about how many elements are there. This is the advantage of using the for loop. Whenever we are using a for loop, automatically it just goes to the last element. Okay, now we will go for the object array. Okay, so now this is the index one, right? Index means automatically it just adds the index for the particular value. Okay, now go for the, okay, sorry, we need to see this one, right? Sorry, okay, we will see this one. So this is the second for loop. Copy this one, go back to this one. This is also one kind of for loop. This is called arrow function. Okay, so again, first we need to mention the array variable, which is called a name list, and for each has to be like this only. The e should be caps. In case if you are using a Somali, you will get an error. And here I need to mention the index. It can be anything. Okay, I think it's not index. It should be a value. Okay, as it is arrow function, but in this type of for loop, right, we don't need the index. Directly it gives us the value. So console.log, I can mention the value here. And here I just mentioned console.log. Okay, and in this console.log, I just mention separator. Okay, to understand, to differentiate the above output and the below output. Okay, refresh it. As you can see here, I can directly get the value. This is kind of shortcut. If you want to use this one, you can use it. Otherwise, if you want to use this one, this is use it. So the second one is little very easy to implement because we don't need to use this index and all these things, right? Directly we can get the value. This is kind of very easy loop actually. Okay, fine. So now I think we will go for the next concept. As I mentioned, if you have any doubts, just put it in the comments. I will help you to solve this issue. Okay. So now we will go for the next topic in JavaScript. Okay, next we are going to see the JavaScript objects. Okay, before we saw about the index array, here we are seeing a JavaScript object. Object means, as you can see here, it is kind of key and value. Okay, index means we don't need to provide the key, which is called position. So position will be automatically identified whenever we are providing the value. But when it comes to JavaScript object, we need to provide the keys. So keys is nothing but the position. Values are nothing but the value which we are going to store against the key. Okay, so here one thing is like object should be key and value, which means that it should be object means it's a key and value, and key should be unique. Okay, it should be unique, it should not get duplicate. This is what we are going to do. Okay, now I am creating one more file. I don't want to use this one. Oh, sorry. You can say object array. Okay, .html. Okay, HTML. Okay, and here I will use this HTML file and let me minimize this one. Okay, so now I am using a script here, and in the script I am using an object. So index we need to use square bracket, object we need to use curly braces. Okay, I will mention like person equal to curly braces. Okay, as I mentioned, it's a object, right? Object means it is the key and value. Key and value and this one. So here I can mention like name, and I can mention like sample name. Okay, so next one is I can mention like email, and this is the value. I can mention like sample at gmail.com. It can be anything. I'm just giving some random value here. Okay, so this is how we can just create an object array. In order to get the value, which means if you want to extract the value from the array, which means it's the object, console.log person of this key actually. Okay, what this will do now, it will get the value against the name. Okay, now I'm just drag and drop the file as we know. Okay, let me refresh it. Can you see the output here? Oh, sorry. Okay, so now the sample name is getting printed from the object array actually. Okay, so now we will do one more scenario. If I want to access the email, then we need to mention the same key. So this is called the key, and go save this one, refresh it. As you can see here, I can able to get the value from the object. Okay, this is called the object array. Okay, I will show you one more thing. As I mentioned, key should not duplicate, correct? In case if I purposefully duplicate it, which means I am creating one more duplicate array. Here I will mention like update name, so comma, and okay. So here this is called one key, this is called another key, this is called third key. Okay, sorry. Okay, so now if I go back here, refresh it, as you can see here, I am getting this value. I will not get the first one because whenever we are doing a duplicate key, that recent value will be override the previous one. Okay, that is the reason this sample name is override by this name, so we can get this one. This is called key actually, okay, which is called key override. You can say duplicate key. Okay, so when it comes to duplicate key, it just overrides a value. Okay, fine. So this is called object array. Okay, so now how we can able to iterate the value. So when it comes to array, previously we know we just use this two for loop, right? But when it comes to object, we can use only this type of for loop. The second loop cannot be used in the object array actually. Okay, so now go back to this one, and I'm using a for loop here, and this one we have to use the same thing called person as the object, and it should be key here. Again, it can be any name, but for our understanding we have to put the appropriate name, right? So I'm using the same thing here, which is called this one, and it should be person, this one. Okay, fine. Now go back to the browser, refresh it. Can you see all this one? So name is the name, email is the email. Maybe I will use some separator here. Okay, can you see this one? So name is the key, and then value is this one. Name is the email, value is this one. Okay, okay. I will do one more scenario. I will add a mobile number here. Okay, so mobile, some random number I am adding, and okay, I need to add the comma here. Refresh it. As you can see here, I am getting a mobile, and then I am getting the mobile number also. Okay, so whenever we are using a for loop, from the first element till it reaches the last element, it just loop, and we can get all the values. But when it comes to we are extracting one by one, we have to use this key. But when you are using a for loop, we can get all the values from the array object itself. Okay, so this is called object in our JavaScript. Okay, so now shall we move on to the next one and go back. Okay, now let's come to the JavaScript functions. So JavaScript functions are generally in programming. Functions means when we want to reuse a logic, then we can go for the functions. Okay, so in JavaScript also we can use these functions. So for the functions, I'm going to use one more file called function.html. I'm using a HTML based structure here. Okay, and the script. Okay, I'm using a function, and I will mention like print message. Okay, so this is the function that I'm using in our JavaScript. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm just mentioning a simple console.log. Okay, I'm mentioning like sample message. Okay, so this is what I'm just doing here. Now, as we know, in order to execute this file, we need to just drag and drop the file into the browser. So I'm going to drag and drop, and in order to see the console, we need to open the console. Inspect. Okay, go to the console. Okay, now we can see the console here. But I cannot see any output because functions can be executed when we are calling explicitly. Otherwise, it will not. We will not see this output, right? So in order to see this one, I'm just calling this function called print message. Open this one, and this is called function calling. Okay, calling the function. Once again, calling the function. This is called function declaration. Okay, so function can be executed when we are calling the function. If we are not calling the function, our function will not get executed. Okay, now let me refresh this one. As you can see here, I can able to get the output called sample message. This is getting printed only because of we are calling the function. In case if I comment the line and refresh the file, and I cannot see any output because function can be executed when we are calling the function. That's it. Okay, so what is use of function is, as I mentioned, when we want to reuse a logic, then we can go for these functions here. Okay, now go for this next one. So I am going to give a two parameters which is called a comma b. So which means I am going to perform the addition here. So now from this function I am using the keyword called return. So return means I am going to return the value from the function here. So a plus b, which is called this performs this addition, and it returns the value. This return is like an optional in the JavaScript, but when it comes to other programming languages like Java, we need to mention the return type and we need to return it. But in JavaScript it is not mandatory. We can just return the value. If you don't want to use, if you don't want, we can just ignore it. Okay, so let me comment this line, and here I want to perform this one, so I can mention like 4,5, and instead of print message I will use this add. Okay, this would be appropriate, right? Okay, and as we know, this will return the value, right? So I need to use this to returns means it just returns the value. So to capture the returned value, I'm just using a one more variable called result, sorry, equal to this one, and here I'm just printing a console.log result. Okay, go to this one, and can you see this 9? 9 is nothing but the result of 5 plus 4, we are getting 9. So shall we give some other thing? 85, I think now we will get 89. Okay, this is called a function. So functions means it just performs the logic, and we can use it whenever we want. Okay, here we will do one more scenario. Let a plus b, and sorry, I'm giving one more result here. This will not this result will not interfere with this one, because this is called a local scope variable. As I mentioned, let, right? Because this let we are using here, this will have only till this curly brace ends. It will not be affected in another variable. Now here I'm just using a variable to result. Okay. In between, I'm just using a console.log, and I can mention like result here. Okay. And here what I'm going to do, I will remove this one and this one. So now also I will get the same output. Okay, which means now we are getting 89. Why are we getting 89 is because the line number 8 will get the output. As you can see clearly in the console.log, the output is coming from the line number 8. So we are getting this value from the console here. Okay. So now I will call this function one more time with the different parameters. Instead of 4, I will give 14, and it gives me some, oh sorry, it gives me like 199. Okay. So this is how we can just call the function. As I mentioned, whenever you want to call the function multiple times with the logic, we can go for the functions. If you don't want to, if you just having a logic with only one place means, then we don't need the functions. But whenever you want to have a multiple, you want to execute this function multiple times with the same logic, then we can go for the functions. And also if we are having a complex logic and you want to separate it into the different file, the time also we can go for the functions actually. Okay, so fine. So now I think the main concept of functions is like function can be executed only whenever we are calling the function. In case if you are not calling the function, then it will not get executed. For example, let me comment it now and go back to the refresh the page, and as you can see here, I will not get any input. That is because function can be executed only whenever we are calling the function, otherwise it will not get executed. Okay guys, till now we saw about the functions. So now we are going to see the on-click events, or we can see the events of JavaScript. Okay. So for example, whenever I am clicking with the mouse on particular element, I want to capture or I want to execute a function. For example, I am having a button. So whenever I am clicking a button, I just want to show the alert. Okay. So here maybe I am just creating one more file called events. Okay. As usual, the same structure. I think still now we are using the same thing, right? So here also I'm using the same thing. Okay. So now I'm going to use this script tag here, and in the script tag, maybe below this one, I'm just using a button here, and here I will use this click me here. Okay. So now what happening is like whenever I am just 1 second, let me drag and drop here. Okay. So whenever I'm clicking on this button, I want to show one alert. Okay. So here what we can do, so we need to capture the event, right? So whenever I'm clicking on the button, we should know like we are clicking on the button. Okay. And then we need to trigger our function. Okay. For this thing in JavaScript, we can do using the attribute called onClick. Okay. So in the onClick, we need to call our function. So before that, first we need to declare the function. So I can say like function, and I will mention like sample function. Okay. It can be anything. I'm using a sample function. Okay. So now inside the function, I'm just printing using console.log. I can say like sample button click, but actually we need to show the alert, but just for to understanding how it works. Okay, now call this one, and we know how to call the function, right? Like this. Okay, and go to this one, and in order to see the output in the console, we need to enable the console here. Now let me save it and click on the function here. As you can see here, I can see the sample button click, which will be triggered during the click of this button. So if I click this one more time, it just prints the output continuously. Okay, this is how we can just call the function during the button click. Okay, this is a simple functionality. Okay, so now as I mentioned, I want to show some alert. Okay, in JavaScript we have the function called alert. By calling this one, I can show this one. So here I can mention like sample alert. Okay, this is the title I'm just providing for the alert box. This alert is from the JavaScript itself, so we don't need to create anything. Now let me save it, and by clicking the function, can you see the alert, right? So this alert is coming from the JavaScript itself, so we don't need to do anything here. Click OK. This is alert is just to show the alert in the JavaScript itself. So now this alert will be shown whenever I'm clicking the button. It just calls this function and then we can see the alert actually. Okay, so this is how we can just call our JavaScript function. Okay, now with the same implementation we can do this on click with any element. For example, I'm going to have a one more any other element, what I can say, like div. Yeah, okay, so I can say like sample div element. Okay, so now on click and I can say the sample function I'm calling, the same function I'm calling. Okay, so now go back here, refresh it and click on this div element. I can able to get the same alert. Okay, the alert is showing because of this div on click actually. That's it. Okay, so this is how we can simply call the function called sample function by clicking on the div actually. That's it. Okay, so fine. Next we will go for the, now you know understood like this concept, right? Okay, so next functionality that we are going to see about how to access the elements. Okay, so how to access the elements in JavaScript, there's a lots of ways there, but here we are going to see which is called document.getElementById. Okay, by using this function we can able to access element using JavaScript from HTML, which means maybe I'm using the same file itself. Okay, so now I'm going to use h1. This is sample. Okay, this is heading tag. Okay, this is the text tag that I'm using here. Now for this h1 I'm going to use this id called this h1 underscore id. Okay, this is I am mentioning here. Now I want to access this h1 in our JavaScript. Okay, so to do this one we need to use this document.getElementById and we need to use this h1 hyphen id dot inner. Okay, what this will do, this will get the element from the h1 tag actually. Okay, now next one is dot inner html. We can say like let value equal to this one. So what this will do, it just gets the value from the h1 tag and assign this to the value variable. Next one is I'm using console.log. I'm going to use this value. That's it. Okay, let me save it and go. Okay, let me comment this alert as well. Save it and clicking on this is button. Can you see this one? So now what this function is doing is reading the value from the heading tag and just prints in the console actually. But this function will be triggered whenever I'm clicking on the button actually. Is it right? That's what. So this is how we can just call the function from the button. Now next one is what we can do. So here. Okay. So now the next one is about we are going to replace the value of the h1 tag. So here what we can do, so document dot get element by id h1 hyphen id dot inner html equal to sample heading tag. Okay, maybe from JavaScript. Now we are going to replace the value of the h1 using JavaScript. Refresh it, click on this one. As you can see here, can you see this one? So now our heading tag is value is getting replaced from the button click actually. Again I'm refreshing the page and click on this one and I can able to get the replace the value from the JavaScript. Okay, here we will go one more implementation also. I think it's fine, right? So now here what we are doing is by clicking on the button we are just calling a function. So in the function we are retrieving the value and that value we are showing okay, and then we are replacing the value also. Okay, so now maybe I'm just commenting this line and I'm going to comment this line as well and I will comment this div also. It is also not needed as of now. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to have one text box here which is called input text box. In the placeholder I will mention like enter message. Okay, so enter message I'm providing and then id I'm going to mention as input. It can be anything but I'm just giving an id here. Okay, so now let me close this one. Okay, so as you can see I'm using this one. So now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the value from the input box. First one is I'm going to, okay, I will tell you what we are going to do. Let me refresh it. Okay, so now I am having one input box, one heading tag, one button. So now whenever I'm clicking on the button, it will just get the value from the input box and that value is going to replace into the h1. You understood, right? Which means whatever I'm typing in the text box, that has to be filled in the h1 tag by clicking the button. This is what we are going to do. So for this thing, first we need to get the value from the text box, right? So in order to get the value from the text box, first we need to use document.getElementById. But in order to get the value from the text box, we need to use this value. Okay, what this value will do, this will get the value from the text box. Maybe I am adding the comment here. get the value from the, my god, I'm typing from the text box. Okay, this is what I'm doing here. Okay, now next scenario is we are going to replace the value in the h1. So again, we already done this thing, document.getElement by id h1 id in a html equal to this value, which is called the variable, equal to this variable. That's it. So here we are getting the value, we are going to replace the value, and all this logic will be executed during the button click. Okay, let me do it. So now typing something here, click on this one. Can you see this one? So immediately it's getting replaced here. Now I will do one more scenario. Sample input, click on this one. Can you see this one? It's working fine. The same way I am typing, doing this one, click on this one, it's working. If I remove everything, click on this one, it just gone. Okay, so this is like a reading the value from the input box and appending to the h1 tag actually. Okay, like this we can keep on doing. Like if you are having a input box and you are having a list of form and you want to validate, that is also we can do it with the same implementation. Okay, if you want to separately, or you want to know like how this form validation has to happen, let me know in the comments. I will create one more video. Okay, this is not the timing to show how to do a form validation actually. Okay, fine. So let's go for one more implementation as well. Let me go for next one. Okay, so this is how we can just do the implementation. Document.getElement by id, we can just get the element, but here the id is important, and this document.getElement by id has to be like this only. In case if we change this one, it will not work. Okay, fine. So now we will go for the next one, which is called, we just saw about the alert, right? Alert means just show the alert. Then we will have the confirm button, which is called yes or no kind of thing. Maybe I will create one more file, which is called popup. Okay, I'm creating a file called popup.html and html5. Okay, and script, and this script I'm going to have a button, and first one is going to be a alert. Okay, next one is going to be a prompt, and then confirm. Maybe here I will show you confirm. Next button is going to be a prompt. Prompt means is getting the value from the user. Here empty prompt. Okay, so here what this alert will do, maybe I'm showing a show alert. This is the first function I'm using. Next function is show confirm. Again, the names are your wish, you can use. So the name handle is your wish, confirm, and the next one is I'm going to use show prompt function prompt. Okay, so here I will use this alert, mention like sample alert. Okay, and then I will mention like sample confirm, but as we all know, it should be confirm, right? It is not the alert. So confirm, we can say prompt. Okay, in the prompt I will tell like enter your name. Okay, so that's all. So but here we need to use one variable to get the value. Okay, this value I will put it in the console to see this one. I'm doing a lot of mistakes, right? The typing. Okay, fine. And then confirm also will give us either true or false. So I can mention like value. Again, I'm using. So console.log. Okay, this one. So that's it. Fine. So now we will see how it works, all these things. But before that, we need to use on click, right, in order to show this one. Super. On click. Okay, here I need to use show alert. Copy this one and I will mention here. And here it should be show confirm. Okay, and here it should be show prompt. That's it. Okay, so now go to this page and let me call this function as it is in another page. We need to refresh it. Let me open the console, because to see the output we need to use the console, right? Let me open this one. Okay, go to the console. Okay, now click on the alert. It's showing alert. It's fine. Close this one. Now click on the confirm and it's giving showing the confirm button, which is called OK cancel. By clicking OK, it's giving me true, and click on confirm. Clicking cancel, it gives me false. Okay, so using the confirm button, we can use either true or false. Okay, now let me clear the console. Click on the prompt. So prompt is asking, like as you can see, it is asking enter your name, typing something. It gives me whatever I'm typing in the prompt that has to be shown here. Let me type on some other thing, maybe like sample input. Okay, so click OK. As you can see here, I can use this sample input actually. That's it. Okay, so this is how we can use this. Okay, again, these are all default input boxes available in our JavaScript. Okay, so here we don't need to do any HTML changes or anything. By default, all these things will be available in the JavaScript itself. Okay, so now we will go for the next one, so which is called REST API integration. So REST API means we are going to get the data from server. So now we are going to use some server. So as we all know, we don't have any server. So we can use some proper example. I don't know whether, okay, let me check this URL. I'm just having here. Check this one. Okay, I think as you can see, it is not working actually. Fine. So for this one, I'm going to use a URL called reqres. This is like a sample website only for the learning purpose. Okay, reqres.in I'm going to use. And this is a URL and they are providing the data which is called reqres. Okay, let me show it here. Okay, so what this REST API means, we are going to integrate with the server. Generally, when it comes to REST API, there's a four things: get method, put method, post method, delete method. Now we are going to see only get method, which means we are going to get the data from server. Okay, so in order to use this REST API, we need to use this method called fetch, which is available in the JavaScript itself. So we are not going to do anything here. Okay, here what I'm going to do, so the same script here, and here I'm going to use fetch method. Okay, fetch, and I need to mention the URL. Okay, it is must that we should mention the URL. Then the next argument we are going to mention the method. What this method will do, this has to be, this get or post or put, all these things can be get or we can be known from the server itself, which means if you see this website called reqres, which we are going to use as a server, the first API that we are going to integrate, right? One second, they clearly mention as a get. So which means whenever we are going to use it in a real-time application, we have to get the documentation, like what is the get method, what is the data that we are going to pass, all these things. But as of now, this in this website they are clearly mentioned as this API. This is the API URL endpoint, and this is the method type. So that is the reason I am mentioning this is the URL and method type is get actually. Okay, fine. So now I'm just going to use this function method, open curly brace, close curly brace, and let me call this function here. And here I will mention like get API. Okay, so what this will do, when, as we all know, this function has to be triggered for trigger this line, otherwise this will not show any output, right? Okay, fine. So now this will trigger the API and gets a response from server. But how to access a response from server means, we need to use the method called await and async. So that now I am going to use the keyword called await. What this await will do, because whenever we are going to access a server, we don't know how much time it will take to process a response, and also how much network speed that we are having. For example, some country the internet is very slow, some country the internet is very fast, but however it reaches the same server. Okay, so depends on the network speed, depends on the server processing time. The response may take 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 10 seconds, 20 seconds, right? So here we are using the keyword called await. We are purposefully mentioned that till it gets a response, it should not go to the next line. This is called await. Await means it just stops the code till it gets a response. So I'm just, okay, so here I'm going to use this let response. I'm just using this one. So here what we are doing is till it gets a response from the server, it has to wait. It should not go to the next line. Okay, so now let maybe we can say data, and here also we have to use JSON. So what this will do, JSON is like a actual data that we are going to get from the server. JSON like a JSON is like a data structure, but I am not going to all these things. So now this JSON means what it will do, whatever the data that we are expecting from the server, only that can be extracted from the server. So when it comes to response, it has all the data, but we don't need all the data. We need only the exact data that we want to use it as a response. So we can mention like extract the data from the server response. Okay, that's what I'm okay. So for this thing also we need to mention there's a keyword called await. Okay, so this await, what it will do, it just gets a response from the it gets the JSON data from the server response. Okay, now in the last I'm going to mention the console.log, which is called data. That's it. Okay, so you understood the await, right? Await means it just waits the code till it gets a response, or we can say till it completes the process. So here in this case, in our example, we are calling an API. Till it gets a response, it has to wait. So once it gets the response, then only it goes for the seventh line. So once the seventh line is completed, then only it goes for the eighth line. It will not go without any completion. Okay, but there is only one point is here. Whenever we are using await, it is must that we should use this keyword called async in the function declaration, which means we should use this keyword called async, which is called asynchronous. Okay, so asynchronous means parallelly it will get executed. So whenever we are using await, it is must that we should use this async. In case if we are not declaring, as you can see here, it will throw the error actually. Okay, so it is must that we should use async keyword. Okay, this is the concept of this await and async. So here we are using a fetch method, and we are making this code to wait till it gets a response. So once it gets a response, we are extracting the data, and the data that we are printing in the console here, and all these things we are just displaying in the async actually. Fine. Okay, so now let me save this one, and okay, but the last one is we need to use this method using the button click, right? Sorry, I'm using a button here, and on click. Okay, on click and get API, open bracket, here you can say like call server. Okay, save it, go to the browser, and like I think this is the new file, so I need to load it, this one. So let me drag and drop here, close this, all the files I'm closing here. Now go back. Okay, and I'm displaying the response in the console, right? So I need to open the console here, but okay, oh my god, 1 second guys, I think I just loaded in the wrong file. Yeah, okay, why it is showing like this? Okay, fine. Okay, so now as you can see here, the fetch HTML is loaded. Okay, fine, go to the console here. Now click on the button. Can you see here? Okay, I think I am getting some error. I think there is a spelling mistake. Is it so? Yes, spelling mistake, because fine. Let me click on the server. Okay, this response is coming from the server. This is not we generated, or this is not like we have given the variable name. Actually this response is coming from a server, so we just prints the value in the console actually. That's it. Okay, so now, and one more thing, if you want to know like how many requests are going from this page, click on the network. You can see like this request is going from here, and this is the data that we are passing, which is called the payload. Payload means that we are passing the data to the server. Preview means the same response we are seeing it in a preview way. We can expand it, and we can this one. Response means this is like a raw data. Whatever the data is coming from the server, we can see it here. Initiator means where it is getting initiated, which means from fetch HTML 6 line during the on click of line number 14. Timing means how much time it took gets a response from the server. Okay, this is what about the network. This network will be useful to track the network request, server request in our HTML file. Okay, whenever there is a HTML request is going, this will be tracked here. If I click one more time, this will be track here actually. Okay, but once I close this browser, it will be gone. This is just for the track the request. That's it. Okay, if I close this inspect, and if I open one more time, there will not be any request. Everything will be removed from the track actually. Okay, this is just for our tracking the request. Okay, so now you understood the fetch API, right? And here I am just showing only the get API. There is a put, post, delete, all these things available that we will see maybe in the further scenario. If you want this another API implementation, just let me know in the comments. I will do it in a separate video for other API integrations. Okay, but in terms of API integration, this is a basic. When it comes to put API, post API, or whatever it may be, here only we need to make these changes, and we need to mention what are all the data that we are going to pass. The base structure is this only. Okay, the base syntax is this. But if you want to use any other API, just let me know, we will do it. Okay, this is called a server API integration, or we can say REST API integration in JavaScript. Okay, so I think almost we are going to complete the JavaScript. Let's see, we will see the first thing. I think next one is about the JavaScript OOPS. So OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming. Okay, so when it comes to object oriented programming, we are going to use appropriate OOPS concept, which means class name, and all these things. Fine. Okay, yeah. normally in Java or C++, the way how we are implementing the whoop set, the same thing will be applicable here also, but it's not that much complicated. It will be very easy if you are good in Python or Java or C++. Okay, so like we can use this. Okay, first we will see the syntax here. I think the syntax is class name, and then we can mention any function name, and we can use this we need to create an object, because class means we need to create an object, right? Without object we cannot call the functions, and using the object we can call the function. Okay, let's see how to do this one. So now let me create a new file called oops.html. Okay, it is wrong file name, it's a mistake. Okay, fine. So now here html. Okay, fine. So here I need to use script here. Okay, okay. In order to declare the whoops, we need to use this keyword called class. It has to be like this only, we should not use any other thing. Okay, and inside this one I will use like person, open curly brace, close curly brace. Okay, I will mention like print name. Okay, so this is the variable that I'm using here. Now I'm going to declare the variable. This is called a function. Generally before we were seeing using the keyword function, we can declare the function, but when it comes to whoops, we don't need the keyword called function, because automatically this will be considered as a function. Okay, now I'm going to declare the variable. In order to declare the variable, we just mention the variable, that's it. We don't need any keyword called let, var or anything. We can directly use the variable, mention like Shiva is the name, and I will use this camel case here. Okay, that's it. So now inside the print name, I'm using a console here, console.log this dot first name, that's it. Okay, this is called access the variable, but here we should use one more thing. Yeah, this. Okay, here as you can see here, I'm using this keyword. This is representation of global variable. This is always representation of the variable which is coming from the global variable. Okay, so this dot first name means we are accessing the global variable, which means outside of the function. So whenever you want to access the variable which is outside of the function, we should use this keyword. In case if we don't have a variable outside of the function which is inside the function, means we don't need the keyword called this, but we should use this keyword called this whenever we want to use this first name actually. Okay, fine. So now we need to create an object, because this class cannot be executed till we create a function. Maybe I will just open this file in the browser. We cannot see any output. Can you see the console? Here as you can see here, nothing. So no output in the page as well as in the browser. Because the way how we know, if you want to execute a function, we need to call it, right? The same way, if you want to use the class, we need to use this function. We need to create an object. So let person equal to new person. So what this will do, this will create an object actually. Okay, so person is nothing but this is the class name, and this is like an object. Okay, this can be anything. Even I can use obj also, but generally, when it comes to programming, the small case of class name is considered as an object. But for this one to differentiate, I'm just using an object actually. But here the standard is lowercase of the class name is considered as an object. Okay, so now we need to call the function using the object. In class, if you are declaring the function, it is must that we should call the function only with the objects. Okay, so I'm using a print name, and this is the function. I'm adding a comment here, calling the method using object. Okay, save it, go to this place, refresh it, and as you can see here, I'm getting the output in the line number 9, and because of this one. In case if I comment this line, refresh the page, I cannot see any output, because we need to use this function by calling the function. By calling the function using objects. Okay, we will do one more thing also, which means I am just updating the variable. It is also possible, I can say like new name. Okay, we can say update the value. It is possible in our JavaScript. Let me save it. As you can see here, new name is coming, because this is Shiva is the name which we have given, but that is getting updated by the line number 13. That's it. Okay, so this is what about the updating the value by using the variable, as well as using the object we can access a variable, and for that variable we can just update the value actually. Okay, fine guys. So this is what about the oops concept in our JavaScript. Okay, shall we do one more scenario as well? What we can do, the same implementation, events, right? So we can have the input box, all these things. I'm just copying everything and I'm moving here. The same logic, maybe the logic also I will copy it from that itself. oops concept. I'm adding one more function here. Okay, I will mention like replace text in h1. Okay, this is a function name I'm using, and this function I will call it from the on click. But here only one scenario, we cannot directly call the function. We should use this object star this one. Okay, this is what the difference between the normal function and then oops function. So oops means we need to use it object. Normal means we can directly call it without any issues. But when it comes to oops, we have to use this object and we have to call the function. And the logic, I don't want to change anything. Only the code which is not needed, I'm just replacing it. And in terms of logic, here what we are doing is we are just getting the value from the input box, and that value we are going to replace it in a h1. But we need to make sure that we should have this elements in here, otherwise it will throw the error. Okay, now go to the oops concept. Let me refresh the page. Okay, as you can see here, I'm having one input box, heading tag, and then click me. Type something here, click on this one, and I'm getting the value. So oops concept is also working fine. Same logic, whatever the logic that we have built using the normal function, that same logic we are using in a oops also. Maybe I am typing something here, h1 using oops. Click on the function, and this is working fine. That's it. Okay, so this is how we can just print the value, or we can use this oops concept to do all these things actually. Okay, so here we are using a variable, we are using a function, and we are using object, we are calling a variable, we are calling a function, we are calling a function using the button click. Okay, so these are all things is like a JavaScript oops concept. Okay, so I think almost we completed. We will see the last concept called constructor. So constructor is nothing but whenever you want to by default you want to call some functionality, we can go for the constructor. So constructor by default in other programming languages, which will be triggered during the object creation, the same definition can be applicable in JavaScript oops also, which means you don't need to call explicitly when it comes to constructor, because this replace text in h1, this print name, we need to call explicitly in order to execute, correct? But when it comes to constructor, we don't need to call. So this is the constructor in JavaScript. So console.log, we can mention like this is constructor, tructor. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I will comment all these things, which means this function calling and all these things. Go to the file, refresh it. Can you see this? This is constructor. We never call this constructor anywhere in the page, but still we can able to get the value. That is because whenever we are creating objects, this constructor will be triggered. This is called the constructor. We can say like constructor will be called during the object creation. This is what the main thing in terms of constructor actually here. Okay, and okay, I will show you one more example also. In case if I comment this line, it will not show any output. The constructor will not get executed, because constructor will get executed only when we are calling when we are creating object actually. Okay, that's it guys. So this is what about the JavaScript concept. So from the variable declaration till the oops concept, we have seen lot of things. And if you have any doubts or anything, just put it in the comments. If you want to know like some topics little briefly, just put it in the comments. I will create some videos for you also. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.